Sam Harris. Title, I guess, Infidel. Well, I'm from Southern California, and I was raised in a totally secular home, so I'm not reacting, in my criticism of religion, I'm not reacting against any kind of fundamentalist upbringing, but nor was I told that there was no God. It was really not a subject of conversation. So my rather strident criticism of religion is really a product of very recent events. I mean, in my case, it's September 11th, 2001. So my upbringing isn't so informative of my views at the moment. Well, it was two things. One, just the rather obvious liability of religious certainty was made extraordinarily clear on that day. I mean, we were having people flying planes into our buildings for explicitly religious reasons. But what was also made clear is that we were going to deny the religious rationale because of our own attachment to our own religious myths. I mean, the only language we could find as a culture to comfort ourselves was to endorse our own God talk. So I suddenly saw faith playing both sides of the board in a very dangerous game, where we as a nation, in prosecuting our war on terror, which was obviously a necessary thing to do, though calling it a war on terror I think is rather silly, but we were consoling ourselves with our own religious certainties, very much in the language of Christian fundamentalism. The president comes before Congress and talks about God not being indifferent to freedom and fear. As an atheist, I hear that exactly the way I would hear someone saying Zeus is not indifferent to freedom and fear. I mean, it is an uncannily strange and empty utterance, and yet our culture is now programmed not to notice how strange and empty it is, and it does really significant work. And so we see things like stem cell research and other causes that upon which the lives and happiness of millions of people really turn, get subverted by religious thinking, explicitly religious thinking. Well, I spent a lot of time thinking about and exploring spiritual experience in our contemplative traditions, mostly in an Eastern context, in Buddhism and Hinduism, but I've also read much of the contemplative literature of Christianity and Judaism and Islam. So I've been interested in religion for at least 20 years, and interested in spiritual experience, and have spent a lot of time practicing meditation and studying with various meditation masters in India and Nepal, and spending months and weeks on retreat just practicing meditation, very much the way a monastic would in the Buddhist tradition. So I'm the concerns of religious people, the ethical and the spiritual concerns of religious people are something that I think I understand and I take very seriously. I mean, I take very seriously the possibility of experiencing the world the way Buddha and Jesus and other famous patriarchs and matriarchs seem to have experienced the world. And I think we want to actualize that kind of experience. I mean, if it's possible to love your neighbor as yourself, I'm interested in learning how to do that. I just don't think we have to believe anything on insufficient evidence in order to do that. Well, yeah, we use the word faith in a variety of ways, and there's certain senses of the term that I think are unobjectionable. I mean, you tell someone to have faith in themselves, for instance. That is not to recommend delusional certainty. It is to recommend a kind of positive attitude in the face of uncertainty. I think that's totally healthy and necessary, and we should have that kind of faith. We shouldn't confuse that kind of faith with the faith that really is the permission that religious people give one another to believe things strongly on bad evidence. Very explicit things about the nature of the cosmos, what happens after death, the moral structure to this universe. So you have people believing that they're going to get 72 virgins in paradise if they die in the right circumstances, in defense of Islam in this case. That is a proposition about metaphysics and about what happens after death and about, what this almighty sadist in the sky wants human beings to do while alive. And it's a proposition for which there really is no good evidence. And so that kind of faith, the faith that says, oh, it's okay to believe that, despite the fact that there's no good reason to believe that, no real justification to believe that, that's the kind of faith I'm criticizing.